Hey team, welcome back. So now that we have our development environment set up, the next thing that we want to do is actually install a package called create react app. Okay, and clear. And what you want to do is that you want to go to your terminal. If you're on Windows, I think that you are going to want to use git bash. If you don't have it installed, this is basically what you're looking for, git bash. You can actually do a Google search and install it if you want to follow along here. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to navigate onto the folder where I have my Java project as well. And the first thing that I need to do is to actually use the npm install so that you can actually install the create react app package onto your system. So basically this is what you're going to type, npm install -g, which means global, create react app. So you want to use this parameter here, and the reason for it is that it actually installs it on your system, and then it allows you to use this command, create react app, anywhere in your system anytime you want to create a new React project. So I have this installed in my system already, so I'm just gonna click on it, but nothing's gonna happen because I already have it. So now that we have this and that we are on the right folder, then what we're gonna do is that we're gonna use the command create react app and then space and followed by the name that we're gonna give our React application. In my case, I am going to name it ppm tool react client. You can name it whatever you want, okay? This is just a name that I'm going to use. And this is going to create a new React application, and it's going to generate some boilerplate code that I'm going to walk you through once this is done. This might take a few seconds or a few minutes on your system, depending on your system, of course, and your, I guess, internet connection. So, if this is taking too long, feel free to pause the video and come back when it's done. Okay, so now that we have this created here, I'm just gonna exit out of here. I was just doing some tests. Now that we have this here, what we can do is open VS Code, which I'm gonna bring here, and then we're gonna go to File and Add Folder to Workspace, and then we can just navigate to our main project folder and actually open the ppm tool react client thing. Perfect. So now that we have this here, I just want to walk you through some of the code and some of the files that were generated by the create react application command, or create react app command. So the first one is the node modules, which contains all the dependencies that are coming in with this React boilerplate application. I'm not going to walk you through this because we're not going to touch anything here. So I strongly recommend that you leave this one alone. Then we have the public folder, and the public folder contains the index.html file. The index.html file is the entry point for your application. More specifically, this div here, which is the div with the ID root, is the main entry point for the React application that we're going to create. As a matter of fact, your React application is going to live inside of this div. So this is a very important file here. Don't monkey with it. Just leave it as is. Yes, we're going to make some changes here, but on and all, the structure of this index.html file needs to stay consistent, or else we're going to have issues. Then we're going to go to the source folder, and the next important piece of code that we got generated for us is the index. Actually, let me save this. The index.js file. Basically, the index.js file renders the main app to the element with ID root. Okay, so basically this is what loads your main application to the index.js file. Now you're asking, where is this coming from? Well, this is basically the app.js file that we have here. And here, this is going to be the main entry point for our development. Here we're going to set up routes. Here we're going to set up some additional logic. But on and all, this is the meeting place for some of the major components that we're going to have in our application. And everything that you put here, this file here tells the tells the the index HTML file that, you're gonna render whatever's in app.js. We're gonna render that in the div with the ID of root. Okay, so that's basically the flow. So this tells this what to render here. That's the flow that we're working on, and I actually want to show you in a few seconds. Actually, let me just finish walking you through the code that we got generated here. The next thing here is the package.json, and this is a really important file. Actually, all the things that we got here, the boilerplate code, just leave it alone. We're gonna make some changes, but for the most part, just leave it alone. The package.json would be like the pom.xml file that we have in our Spring Boot application, because it lists the dependencies and it also has scripts on how to start and build our application. So you can think of the package.json file as your pom.xml file, and you can think of npm as Maven in Java. Now, I'm not making any apples to apples comparisons. For those of you that are knowledgeable in JavaScript, please don't get angry at me. I'm not saying that they're the same thing. All I'm saying is that they have similar responsibilities within our apps. And all I'm saying is that as a Java person myself, that's how I made sense of it the first time I learned this. So that's all I'm trying to do, is relating this to something that might be familiar to you if this is your first time with React and JavaScript in general. So now that we understand what we got from the create React app command, the next thing we want to do is run this application, see what we get. So if you want to open the terminal from VS Code, all you need to do is come to View and come to Terminal. And for instance, this is one of the reasons why I prefer VS Code over, let's say, Atom, because this one comes with an integrated terminal, whereas in Atom, at least the last time I used it, you had to actually install an extension to get the terminal in the text editor. So anyway, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna run our app, and we're gonna run our app by typing npm start. And remember, you need to be within the app folder. If you are outside of this, it's gonna give you an error. And now that we're gonna run our app, we're gonna see exactly what it's rendering, and this is it, right? Welcome to React, and this nice looking logo here and some boilerplate stuff. And just to show you the flow that I was talking to you before, if I come to index.js and I change the name here, it breaks the app, right? If I do this, if I put it back to where it was, the app works again. And just to show you that this is what's being rendered here, that this app is actually being rendered here. As you can see here, we have all the text and logo that it's displaying. And if we change this right now, actually let me minimize my my VS Code so you can see it at the same time. There we go. If we say here, welcome to ppm tool, and save it, it re-renders, and now it's rendering this, what we just put there. So basically, as I mentioned before, the app.js file is the main meeting place for all the components that we're going to be wiring up as we build our super cool project management tool. All right, so with this, we're ready to start. If you run into any problems here, let me know. But just make sure that you are in this state right now where you can run the boilerplate code, that you can make silly changes like the one I just made. Like for instance, if we get rid of this, which we don't need, it all updates. So make sure that you're here. Make sure that you play with it a little bit, and then I'll see you in the next lecture when we're going to start wiring up our components.